Greetings agents, this is the Mediocre Gamer. Thank you for tuning in today, I really appreciate it. I'm really glad that you're here and I hope that you are doing well. If you find my videos helpful, please remember to subscribe, like, comment and share. Well agents, we are back in the public test server for round 2 of Year 7, Season 2. And I have been playing around with the new LMG focused gear set, which is called tipping scales. Now the devs have given this gear set a buff in the phase 2 of the PTS. So this gear set hasn't actually been released yet. As I mentioned, it is part of the PTS and it is a preview of the up and coming season, which is due to kick off in a couple of weeks. So just as a recap, this tipping scales gear set, 2 pieces gives plus 30% mag size, 3 pieces plus 30% LMG damage, and then the 4-piece talent is called throttle control. So shooting builds stacks to a max of 50. Each stack provides 0.5% weapon handling and 4% critical hit damage. Lose 6 stacks per second while not shooting. No stacks are lost if an enemy is suppressed. And then the chest talent is sustainability, where you increase the maximum number of stacks from 50 to 75. And then the backpack talent is snowball, which increases the critical hit damage received per stack from 4 to 7%. So basically, the devs have buffed the critical hit damage bonus from 2% to 4%. So the current state of the gear set is shown on the right hand side there with the buffs highlighted there in red, and they've increased the critical hit damage received per stack from 2 to 4% to 4 to 7%. So I really think that LMG users are really going to love this gear set, and maybe if you're not an LMG user, then this is probably a good way to get into it. It's really focused on making the most of those LMG builds, and it has the potential to really deal out some damage. So I spent a little bit of time in the test firing range. Okay, so this is the build that I was using to test out this new gear set. Obviously Tinkerer is the hot favorite at the moment, so I spent a little bit of time in the firing range just playing around with a couple of different LMG weapon talents just to see what kind of damage we could get up to. So I've got the chest and the backpack on and Fox's knees. For the weapon I was using is just a GR9, fairly standard, no expertise or anything like that. I decided to go with a larger mag size because I found that allowed me to build those stacks more consistently. I did play around with a couple of LMGs that had the smaller mag size. I can't remember what it was off the top of my head. Like it was one of those LMGs with like a 65 round mag or something like that. And I found that because you're reloading fairly often, the tipping scales stacks decreased a fair bit. So I went with something with a larger mag size so that I could keep those stacks up and maxed. So the stats as they appear on the build, so 51% crit hit chance and 93% crit hit damage. So at 75 stacks, which is the maximum, weapon handling is at 37.5% bonus, and critical hit damage is at 525. So not too shabby. So this is what I tested with on the firing range. Obviously that is a controlled environment and the conditions are pretty good because I'm just basically standing in one spot. I don't have hostiles to worry about, and it's a fairly good place to test. And these are the combinations that I tested with, and I was just kind of watching out for what my body crits got up to. And as you can see there, Measured and Frenzy came out on top, and Streamline and Measured did well, and even Ranger and Frenzy did well at 1.6 million body crits at 20 meters. But yeah, I'm not much of an LMG user per se, but on Reddit, Measured and Frenzy does seem to be a popular choice for agents who are running a LMG build with Tinkerer. whether it be striker or a Legmo build or something like that, I do see measured and frenzied pop up quite a bit. Obviously, I haven't been able to test something like sadist because I wasn't able to affect bleed or some kind of status effect on the firing range. So that's obviously something that's going to be interesting to test, as that gives quite a good damage amp as well. If particularly if you're playing in a group and someone is running ongoing directive and you've got those hollow point bullets which proc bleed, if you're running sadist or something like that, then that is going to do pretty well as well. So I mean, there's not a huge amount of variation there. The lowest there, Ranger and Streamline and Killer at 1.4 million body crits. And as I mentioned, up to 1.8 million body crits for Measured and Frenzy when you're at the bottom of the mag. So, with something like Measured, it's not like you're constantly doing 1.8 million body crits. It does actually only happen at the bottom of the mag due to the way that talent works, but still pretty impressive. I'm not running any of the global events or anything like that at the moment. That's all turned off because the current global event does give a rate of fire bonus and also a weapon damage bonus, depending on how many zones you control on the current map. So if you are in complete control of Washington, D.C., for instance, so you converted all of your control points from hostile to friendly, then you do actually get a 30% weapon damage bonus and a 30% rate of fire bonus. So just in the interest of fairness and trying to make the testing as fair and equitable as possible, I actually turned that off. So there's no expertise, there's no global modifier bonuses happening or anything like that. It's just kind of, this is the base that you could actually get out of these damages. This is actually the least amount of damage that you could do from these combinations. And I will admit that there are many combinations here that I haven't done. Kind of impossible to test them all. I kind of just went with just a few combinations that seem to be popular with Tinkerer builds. And, I might have missed some, but that is just me not having much time. I also did actually test with the Sacrifice. The same build, I just took off Fox's, put on Tipping Scale's knees, put in the Sacrifice chest, which has Perfect Glass Cannon, and I just tested a few. So Measured and Frenzy doesn't quite actually put out as much damage as it does with the Tipping Chest and Backpack. So that was something I found interesting. For this build, it's possible that the chest and backpack may be the best combination. I didn't actually take out the backpack and test with something else, but I just thought that that was interesting that Sacrifice didn't quite actually achieve as much damage. So there you have it, agents. That's my limited testing and very basic testing, I guess, just to give myself and those watching at home what you can expect from this new gear set when it gets released in a couple of weeks. If you were participating in the PTS, I'd be interested to hear what kind of builds you were putting together for this new gear set, or if you had any general comments or feedback, I'd be also interested to hear those, so please leave a comment. But that's all for now. Thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate it. And until next time, you stay safe out there, agents, and take care.
This was the last place they could hide. Time to get topside.